Queen moved through the crystal corridors of her ship with quick, sharp steps. Her long silver robe swept the floor as she walked. The royal guards behind her struggled to keep up with her pace. Something was wrong, very wrong. She had felt it the moment she woke up. The gentle humming that always filled her mind when her daughters were near had gone silent. At first, she thought they were just sleeping deeply in their chambers. Young needed much rest to grow properly. But when she went to check on them, their sleeping pods were empty. "My queen," said Captain, her head of security. His blue skin was darker than usual, which meant he was worried. "We have searched the entire ship. The princesses are not here." Stopped walking. Her hands formed tight fists at her sides. "That is impossible. The ship has been sealed since we arrived at the human station. No one can enter or leave without my permission. The sensors show they are still alive, my queen, but their signals are very weak, almost like they are sleeping very deeply." The queen's eyes flashed with anger. Her 3 daughters and were the most precious things in the universe to her. They were also the future of her people. If something happened to them, the royal line would end. "Contact the human station immediately," she ordered. "Tell them we need to search their facility. If they refuse, we will take it by force." Captain bowed his head. "Yes, my queen, but the humans might see this as an act of war." Turned to face him. Her silver eyes were cold as ice. "My daughters are more important than any treaty with the humans. Find them, now." On the human space station called Harmony's Rest, Captain was having her morning coffee when the call came in. She was a small woman with dark hair and tired eyes. Running a space station was hard work, especially when it served as a meeting place between different alien species. "Captain," said her communication officer, "we have an urgent message from the ship. Queen wants to speak with you." Set down her coffee cup. She had been expecting this call, but not so early in the morning. They had arrived 3 days ago for trade talks. Everything had been going smoothly until now. "Put her through," said. The large screen in front of her lit up, showing Queen's face. Even through the video link, could see the worry and anger in the alien's silver eyes. "Captain," the Queen said in perfect English, "my daughters are missing. They disappeared from our ship during the night. I believe they are somewhere on your station." Felt her heart skip a beat. 3 missing alien children was a serious problem. If something happened to them, it could destroy the peace between their species. "Your Majesty, I can assure you that our security is very good. If your daughters came to our station, we would know about it. Nevertheless, I demand permission to search your facility. My guards will accompany me." Thought quickly. Letting armed alien soldiers search the station could cause panic among the human crew, but refusing could make things much worse. "Of course, Your Majesty, but I ask that you bring only a small guard unit. We don't want to frighten our people." "Agreed, we will arrive in 1 hour." The screen went dark. Immediately called her security chief, Commander Jackson. "We have a situation," she told him. 3 young are missing, possibly on our station. I want every section searched. Check all the public areas first, then the restricted zones." "Should we be worried about kidnapping?" Jackson asked. "I don't know. But if those children are hurt while they're technically under our protection, we could have a war on our hands." Stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. She could see the ship floating nearby. It was beautiful, made of what looked like white crystal and silver metal. She knew that inside that ship, Queen was probably packing back and forth, worried sick about her children. Understood that feeling. She had 2 children of her own back on Earth. If they ever went missing, she would turn the galaxy upside down to find them. An hour later, Queen arrived at the station with 4 guards, met them at the docking bay. Up close, the Queen was even more impressive. She was tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to glow in the station's lights. Her guards were just as tall but broader, with blue skin and serious faces. "Thank you for allowing us to search, Captain," the Queen said. Her voice was polite but could hear the tension underneath. "We want to find your daughters as much as you do," replied. "My security teams have already started looking. So far, we haven't found any sign of them." They walked through the station together, showed the Queen the main shopping areas, the restaurants, and the entertainment zones, all the places where curious children might wander. "Tell me about your daughters," said as they walked. "How old are they? What do they like to do?" The Queen's expression softened a little. "Is the oldest. She is 12 in your years. She loves to explore and ask questions about everything. Is 10. She is quieter but very smart. She likes to solve puzzles. Is only 8. She follows her sisters everywhere and loves to play games." "They sound like normal children," said with a smile. "Children like to explore. Maybe they just got curious about the station and decided to look around." "That is what I am afraid of," the Queen said. "Children are not as strong as human children. They need special conditions to survive, if they are lost somewhere cold or dangerous." She didn't finish the sentence but understood. The Queen wasn't just worried about her daughters being lost. She was afraid they might be dying. "We'll find them," said firmly. "I promise you that." Search had been going on for 3 hours when Commander Jackson's voice came through radio. "Captain, you need to come to Agricultural Deck 7 right away. We found something." Looked at Queen, who had heard the message through her translator device. The Queen's silver eyes grew wide with hope and fear. "Lead the way," said to her security chief. They hurried through the station's corridors. Agricultural Deck 7 was in the lower levels, where the station grew its own food. Most people never went down there unless they worked in the gardens. When they arrived, saw a crowd of security officers standing outside one of the greenhouses. They all looked confused and a little amazed. "What did you find?" asked. "Ma'am, you really need to see this for yourself," Jackson said. He led them to a large window that looked into the greenhouse. Inside could see rows of earth plants growing under warm lights, but in the center of the room, something incredible was happening. 3 small figures with silver skin were curled up together on top of a sleeping human man. The figures were glowing with a soft, beautiful light. Queen gasped and pressed her hands against the window. "My daughters," she whispered, "but they are glowing." Had never seen anything like it. Children were usually pale and thin, but these 3 looked healthy and bright. The light coming from their skin was gentle and warm. "Who is the human?" the Queen asked. Looked more closely at the man. He was young, maybe 30 years old, with brown hair and a kind face. Even in his sleep, he had positioned his arms protectively around the alien children. "That's said, he's one of our botanists. He works with the plants." "We need to get my daughters away from him immediately," Queen said. She turned to her guards. "Prepare to enter the room." "Wait," said, putting up her hand. "Look at them, really look at them." The Queen turned back to the window. Her daughters were sleeping peacefully. They looked more relaxed and healthy than had ever seen any child. Even more strange, they seemed to be breathing in perfect rhythm with the human. "I don't understand," the Queen said. "Why are they glowing like that?" "Maybe we should ask Doctor," suggested. She knows more about alien biology than anyone else on the station." 20 minutes later, Dr. Sarah arrived with her scanning equipment. She was a small Korean woman with glasses and a very serious expression. She spent several minutes pointing different devices at the window and reading the results. "This is remarkable," she said finally. "The children are in the deepest sleep state I've ever recorded. Their brain activity shows they're getting the most restful sleep possible." "Is that why they're glowing?" asked. "Exactly. In that glow indicates perfect health and deep rest. I've read about it in old medical texts, but I thought it was just legend." Queen looked confused. "But my people have not glowed like that for hundreds of years. We lost the ability when the Great Sickness began." Doctor adjusted her glasses. "What great sickness?" Our children stopped being able to sleep properly. They would rest, but never deeply. Over time, our whole race became weak and tired. We thought it was just part of growing older as a species. Doctor looked back at her readings. According to my scans, your daughters are getting the best sleep of their lives, but I don't understand why. What's special about this human? Just then began to wake up. He opened his eyes slowly and saw the crowd of people watching him through the window. For a moment, he looked confused. Then he noticed the 3 small aliens sleeping on his chest and arms. "Oh no," he said softly. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep." The 3 princesses started to wake up too. When they saw their mother through the window, they smiled and waved. But they made no move to get up from their comfortable position on the human. Activated the communication system. "This is Captain, can you hear me?" "Yes, Captain, I can explain everything. I was working late in the greenhouse when I found these 3 little ones. They were shivering near the heating unit. They looked so cold and scared." "So you let them sleep with you?" asked. "Looked embarrassed. They seemed to need warmth. I just laid down to rest for a few minutes and they curled up next to me. I guess we all fell asleep." Queen activated her own communicator. "Human, I am Queen, mother of these children. Did you harm them in any way?" Looked shocked. "Harm them? No, of course not. They're just bobbies. I would never hurt children." "Then why will they not come to me?" the Queen asked. Indeed, when she gestured for her daughters to come to her, they shook their heads and held on to. "I think they feel safe with him," Doctor said. "Look at his body position. Even in his sleep, he's protecting them. His arms are creating a barrier around them." Sat up carefully, making sure not to disturb the children. They were making these sad little sounds when I found them, like they were crying. I just wanted to help. The youngest princess looked at her mother and then said something in the language. The translator turned her words into English. "Mama, the nice man makes the bad dreams go away. Can we stay with him?" Queen's expression changed. "What bad dreams?" The oldest spoke up. "Every night we have scary dreams, Mama. We can't sleep well. But when we sleep with the warm man, the dreams don't come." Doctor was reading her equipment again. "Incredible. The children's stress hormones are almost at 0. Their brain chemistry shows no signs of anxiety or fear." "This is impossible," the Queen said. "For 300 years, our children have suffered from sleep problems and nightmares. How can one human solve what our best doctors could not?" Looked at through the window. He was gently stroking silver hair as she dozed against his shoulder. There was something naturally caring about the way he held the children. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He was just being kind. "Maybe that's the answer," said quietly. "Maybe your children don't need advanced medicine. Maybe they just need someone who cares about them without wanting anything in return." Queen stared at her daughters, who were glowing brighter than she had ever seen any child glow. For the first time in years, they looked completely at peace. "I need to understand this," she said. "If this human has found a way to heal my people's greatest problem, I must know how." Doctor nodded. "I'd like to run more tests, but carefully. I don't want to disturb whatever is happening here." Watched as began telling the princesses a story about the plants in his greenhouse. The children listened with wide, fascinated eyes. Even though they had just met, they trusted him completely. "Something tells me," said, "this is just the beginning of something much bigger than we imagined." Over the next 2 days, Doctor ran every test she could think of. She studied the princesses and the strange connection between them. Queen watched every moment, trying to understand how a simple human gardener could do what centuries of science could not. Had been moved to a special room where the tests could be done safely. The princesses refused to leave his side. Whenever someone tried to separate them, they would start making sad, musical sounds that broke everyone's heart. "The readings are consistent," Doctor told, and the Queen. "Every time the children sleep near, their brain activity reaches levels we've never recorded in. It's like they're getting 3 days of rest in one night. Queen looked tired. She had barely slept since finding her daughters. But why? What makes this human different? Doctor pulled up her computer screen. I think I found the answer. It's about bioelectric fields. Frowned, what do you mean? Every living thing produces electrical signals. Hearts, brains, muscles, they all create tiny electrical patterns. In humans, these patterns are very active and complex. The Queen leaned forward, and in my people have much quieter electrical patterns. Your bodies are more calm and stable. Usually that's a good thing. But for sleep, you might need more electrical activity. Doctor showed them a graph on her screen. Look at this. When sleeps, his brain creates strong, steady electrical waves. When the princesses sleep next to him, their brains start to match his pattern. You mean his brain is teaching theirs how to sleep? Asked. Exactly. It's like his bioelectric field is creating a template that their brains can follow. For the first time in hundreds of years, children are learning how to sleep properly. Queen stared at the graph. This is why the glow has returned to my daughters. Deep sleep heals our bodies and makes us strong. There's more, Doctor said. I tested other humans on the station. They all have similar bioelectric patterns. It's not just any human could potentially help children sleep. Felt a chill run down her spine. You're saying humans could cure the sleep plague? I think so, but it would require close contact. The electrical field only works at very short distances. Queen was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft. For 300 years, my people have been dying slowly. Our children grow weak because they cannot rest. Our birth rate has dropped because parents are too tired to care for babies properly. We thought we were doomed to fade away. She looked through the window where was showing the princesses how to water the plants. Was standing on a stool, carefully pouring water on some tomatoes. Was asking questions about how plants grow. Little was just happy to hold hand. And now you tell me that humans, the species we barely trust, might be our salvation. Understood the Queen's conflict. Relations between humans and had always been tense. They traded with each other, but there was no real friendship between their peoples. What will you tell your government? Asked. I don't know, the Queen admitted. Many of my advisors believe humans are dangerous. They think you want to take over our worlds. And what do you believe? Queen watched as helped plant a seed in a small pot. The little princess giggled with delight when he showed her how to cover it with dirt. I believe that human cares more about my daughter's happiness than some of my own people do, she said. He asks for nothing in return. He just wants to help them. Doctor spoke up. There's something else you should know. I ran tests on stress levels. When he's taking care of the princesses, his body produces chemicals that make him feel happy and calm. Humans are naturally designed to care for young creatures, even alien ones. You mean he enjoys helping them? The Queen asked. More than that, his brain is wired to protect children. It's one of the strongest human instincts. Nodded, it's true. Humans will risk their lives to save children, even children they don't know. Queen looked surprised. This is not common in the galaxy. Most species only protect their own young. Humans are strange that way, said with a small smile. We adopt orphaned animals. We cry when we see hungry children on the news. We can't help ourselves. Just then's voice came through the communication system. Excuse me, could someone bring us some lunch? The girls are getting hungry, and I think they might like to try some earth fruits. Doctor checked her readings. Even his voice pattern is calming to them. Look, their heart rates slow down when he talks. Queen made a decision. I want to speak with this directly, not through the window but face to face. Was surprised. Are you sure protocol says? I am the Queen, I make the protocols. She paused. Besides, if my daughters trust him, perhaps I should too. An hour later, Queen entered the garden room where was teaching the princesses about earth vegetables. He looked nervous when he saw her, but he didn't move away from the children. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing slightly, "I'm sorry if I did something wrong." "You saved my daughter's lives," the Queen said simply. "There is nothing to apologize for." Looked confused. "I just let them sleep. Anyone would have done the same." "No," the Queen said, "not anyone. Doctor explained to me what you have done. You have given my children something we thought was lost forever." She knelt down next to who was showing her a tiny carrot she had picked. "My daughter, are you happy here?" "Oh yes, Mama, teaches us so many things and we sleep so well. No more scary dreams." Queen looked at, "Do you know what this means for my people?" Shook his head. "I just know they needed help sleeping. Kids should be able to sleep peacefully. For 300 years, our children have suffered from nightmares and exhaustion. You solved this problem in one night." Looked shocked. "I did, but how?" Doctor, who had been listening, explained about the bioelectric fields and brain patterns. Listened carefully, asking simple questions to make sure he understood. "So other humans could help too?" he asked finally. "We think so," Doctor said, "but it would require a lot of trust between our peoples." Looked at the three princesses, who were now showing their mother all the things they had learned about plants. They were glowing brighter than ever, full of energy and happiness. "They're just kids," said. "They deserve to be happy and healthy. If humans can help with that, we should." Queen studied this simple man who spoke about helping her people as if it was the most natural thing in the world. She began to understand why her daughters trusted him so completely. She said formally, "Would you be willing to come to my ship and meet with my doctors? They need to understand what you have done." Looked worried. "Will the girls be okay without me?" "They will come too, of course. I think my daughters have adopted you." Little tugged on shirt. "Can we bring the plants too? I want to show everyone my carrot." Smiled. "Of course we can bring the plants." As they prepared to leave for the ship, watched with amazement. In just a few days, a simple act of kindness had changed everything. Maybe there was hope for peace between their peoples after all. The news spread quickly through both the human station and the ship. Within hours, everyone knew that a human gardener had somehow solved the greatest medical crisis in history, but not everyone was happy about it. On the ship, sat in a beautiful crystal room while alien doctors ran tests on him. The princesses stayed close by, playing with some earth seeds he had brought from his greenhouse. Queen watched from a distance as her medical team tried to understand the mystery of human bioelectric fields. "The patterns are definitely helpful," said Dr. Aura, the chief physician, "but I am concerned about the implications." "What do you mean?" the Queen asked. "If our children need humans to sleep properly, we become dependent on them. What happens if humans decide to use this power against us?" Queen frowned. "You think they would harm our children?" "I think humans are clever. They have found something we need desperately. That gives them control over us." Across the room was helping plant her seeds in a new pot. He spoke to her gently, showing her how to make sure the soil was just right. The little princess giggled when he made funny faces to entertain her. "That human does not look like he wants to control anyone," the Queen said. "Perhaps not him," Dr. Aura replied. "But what about his leaders? What about their military?" Meanwhile, on the station, was dealing with her own problems. News of the discovery had reached Earth, and her superiors were very interested. "This could change everything," said Admiral Brooks through the video link. "If need humans to survive, we have significant advantage in all future negotiations." Felt uncomfortable. "Sir, I don't think we should look at this as an advantage. These are children who need help." "Of course, Captain, but we must think strategically. They control several important trade routes if they owe us for saving their species." "With respect, sir, I think that attitude could destroy any chance of real cooperation. Admiral Brooks's expression hardened. I'm sending a team of experts to study this situation. Make sure they have full access to all research. Knew what that meant. The military wanted to find ways to use this discovery as a weapon. She thought about who was helping alien children simply because it was the right thing to do. Back on the ship, more problems were developing. General, or the Queen's military advisor, had called an urgent meeting. "My Queen," he said in a stern voice, "I must protest this entire situation. We cannot allow our people to become dependent on humans." "The children are healthier than they have been in generations," Queen replied. "Today, yes. But what happens tomorrow when humans demand payment for their help? What happens when they require us to give up our independence?" "You are being paranoid." "Am I? Humans are known for their aggressive expansion. They take over worlds and claim it is for the good of everyone. Now they have found the perfect way to control us through our children." Other advisors nodded in agreement. Many had never trusted humans, and this situation made them even more suspicious. "I recommend we take the human back to our home world for extensive study," General or continued. "Our scientists can learn how his bioelectric field works and find a way to copy it. Then we will not need humans anymore." Queen felt a chill. "You want to kidnap him?" "I want to ensure our species survives without being enslaved." In the crystal room, was telling the princesses a story about a brave little seed that grew into a mighty tree. He didn't know that powerful people on both sides were planning to use his gift for their own purposes. Tugged on his sleeve. "Why do the grown-ups look so angry when they talk about you?" Looked around and noticed that many of the adults were watching him with suspicious eyes. "I don't know, sweetie. Maybe they're just worried about you." "But you make us feel better," said. "Why would that make them worried?" It was a good question, and didn't have a good answer. He was starting to realize that his simple act of kindness had created a very complicated situation. Doctor arrived on the ship that afternoon with more test results. She found in the garden room that had been set up for the princesses. They were all working together to build a small greenhouse where plants and earth plants could grow side by side. "How are you holding up?" she asked. He looked tired. "It's a lot of pressure. Everyone keeps asking me to explain how I do what I do, but I don't really do anything. I just sleep near them." "It's more than that," Doctor said. "Your brain creates a very specific pattern that helps them. But more importantly, you genuinely care about their well-being. That matters more than any science." "Do you think this will really help their whole species?" "It could, but there are people on both sides who want to use this discovery for the wrong reasons." Watched as carefully watered a small earth flower. "What kind of wrong reasons?" "Some humans see this as a way to gain power over the. Some see it as a sign of weakness that humans can help them." "That's stupid," said. "Helping each other isn't about power or weakness, it's just being decent." Doctor smiled sadly. "You're right, but not everyone thinks like you do." That evening, Queen made a difficult decision. She called a meeting with both her advisors and the human representatives. "I have heard all of your concerns," she said to the mixed group. "Some of you think humans will use this discovery to control us. Others think we should use it to control humans. Both sides are wrong." General or stood up. "My Queen, we must protect ourselves." "We must protect our children," the Queen interrupted. "That is our first duty. Everything else is secondary." Admiral Brooks, who had arrived from Earth, spoke up. "Your Majesty, surely you understand that this discovery has strategic implications." "Yes, I understand, and I reject them." The Queen's voice was firm. "My daughters are not strategic assets. They are children who deserve to sleep peacefully." She turned to look through the window, where was reading a bedtime story to the three princesses. They were curled up against him, glowing softly as they grew sleepy. That human asks for nothing except the chance to help. He has shown my daughters more kindness in a few days than some of my own people have shown in years. If we cannot learn from his example, we do not deserve his help." The room was silent. Even the most suspicious advisors could see the love and trust between and the children. "I propose we start slowly," the Queen continued. "A few human volunteers could work with our medical teams to help children on our. In return, we share our crystal-growing technology with human scientists." "And if it doesn't work?" General Orr asked. Queen looked at him steadily. "Then at least we will have tried to build something better instead of preparing for war." Stepped forward. "The station volunteers to be the first testing ground. We have both humans and here. We can learn together." Doctor nodded. "I agree. We need to study this carefully but with cooperation, not suspicion." As the meeting ended, came out of the children's room. The princesses were fast asleep, glowing with peaceful light. "Are they okay?" Queen asked. "They're perfect," said with a smile. "They wanted me to tell you good night from all of them." The Queen looked at this simple man who had changed her world without even trying. Despite all the political complications, she knew one thing for certain: her daughters were safer and happier than they had ever been. Maybe that was enough to build a future on. 3 weeks later, the experimental program was working better than anyone had hoped. 5 human volunteers had joined in helping young learn to sleep properly. The children were healthier and happier than they had been in generations. But not everyone was pleased with the success. Was in the new shared garden with Princess when the attack happened. She was showing him a crystal flower that changed colors in different light when the alarm started blaring throughout the station. "All personnel report to emergency stations," his voice announced over the speakers. "This is not a drill." Looked around confused. "What's happening?" Before anyone could answer, armed figures in black uniforms burst into the garden. Their faces were covered, but could tell they were human from their movements and size. "Get away from the alien," one of them shouted, pointing a weapon at. "You're coming with us." "No," cried, grabbing onto his arm. "Don't hurt him." "We're not here to hurt anyone," the leader said. "We're here to save humanity from making a terrible mistake." Stepped in front of, shielding her with his body. "She's just a child. Whatever problem you have, it's with me, not her. Our problem is with humans becoming slaves to alien needs," the leader replied. "This dependency program will destroy us. We're taking you somewhere safe until sanity returns." More children had been in the garden when the attack started, and along with 3 other young, were now cowering behind plants and crying in fear. Their peaceful glowing had turned dim and frightened. "Please," said, keeping his voice calm. "You're scaring the children. Let me get them somewhere safe and then we can talk." "The children are not our concern." Felt anger rise in his chest. They should be everyone's concern. They're kids. The leader raised his weapon. "Move away from the alien now." "No." It was a simple word, but said it with complete determination. He spread his arms wider, trying to protect as many children as he could. "I won't let you frighten them any more than you already have." The leader's finger moved toward the trigger. "Last warning." Suddenly, Queen appeared in the doorway with her guards. But instead of attacking the human intruders, she held up her hand for peace. "Stop," she said calmly. "There has been enough fear today." The terrorists turned their weapons toward her. "Stay back, alien. This doesn't concern you." "You are threatening my daughter and her friends," the Queen said. "That concerns me very much." Could feel trembling behind him. Without thinking, he began to hum a soft song he used to sing to calm upset plants in his greenhouse. Gradually, the frightened children started to relax a little. "You see," the terrorist leader said to his companions, "he's so brainwashed that he protects aliens instead of his own species." "I protect children," said quietly. "It doesn't matter what species they are." Queen took a step forward. "You believe we are controlling him. We know you are. Then let me show you something. The Queen looked at. I order you to step away from the children and come to me. Looked at her in confusion. What? No, they're scared. I'm not leaving them. I command you as Queen of the Empire. I don't care what your title is, said firmly. I'm not abandoning frightened kids. The Queen turned back to the terrorists. You see, he will not obey me even when I give him a direct order. How can we be controlling him? The terrorist leader looked uncertain for the first time. The truth is, the Queen continued, we need him far more than he needs us, and he knows it. Yet he stays and helps our children anyway, asking for nothing in return. His voice came through the communication system. This is Captain. The station is surrounded by both human and ships. Surrender now and no one will be hurt. The terrorists looked around nervously. Their plan was falling apart. You made one mistake, Queen said to them. You thought helps us because he has to, but he helps us because he wants to. That is what makes humans so remarkable. Little, the youngest princess, suddenly broke away from the group and ran too. She wrapped her tiny arms around his legs. Don't let the bad people take you away, she said in her small voice. Picked her up gently. It's okay, sweetheart, I'm not going anywhere. The terrorist leader stared at the scene. A human man holding an alien child with such obvious love and protection that even an enemy could see it was real. This is wrong, he said, but his voice had lost its conviction. What's wrong, said a new voice, is pointing weapons at children. General, or the Queen's military advisor, entered with a group of soldiers, but he didn't look angry. He looked sad and tired. Lower your weapons, he told the terrorists. I helped plan this attack because I thought humans were trying to control us, but I was wrong. The Queen looked at him in shock. You were part of this. I was afraid, General, or admitted. Afraid that dependence on humans would make us weak, but watching this human risk his life to protect our children, I realized I was the weak one. He turned to, I apologize. You have shown more honor in 5 minutes than I have shown in years. The terrorist leader slowly lowered his weapon. His companions followed. The fight had gone out of them. We thought we were saving humanity, he said. You were, said as she entered with human security officers. You were saving us from our own prejudice and fear. Over the next few hours, the situation was resolved peacefully. The terrorists were arrested but would face light sentences since no one was seriously hurt. General, or resigned from his position, but asked to join the cooperation program as a regular volunteer. That evening, sat in the garden with all the children who had been there during the attack. They were still a little shaken, but their glow was returning as they felt safe again. Asked, why did you protect us when those bad people had guns? Thought for a moment, because that's what you do for family, and you're all my family now. Queen, who had been listening from the doorway, felt tears in her silver eyes. In her culture, family was the most sacred thing. For a human to call her daughters family was the highest honor he could give. 6 months later, the program had expanded to 3 worlds and 12 human colonies. Children of both species were healthier and happier. More importantly, their parents were learning to trust and understand each other. Had become the first human ambassador to the. He lived in a beautiful crystal palace, but his favorite place was still the garden where he grew earth plants alongside alien ones. Princess, now 13, had learned to speak perfect English. Princess had become fascinated with human science and wanted to be a doctor. Princess, though still young, served as a translator between human and children who came to visit. One day, as was teaching a group of mixed human and children about plant biology, Queen came to watch. The children were all working together, sharing tools and helping each other. Some of the human children had learned to glow softly like their friends when they were very content. They don't see differences anymore, the Queen observed. They never did, said. We adults are the ones who taught them to be afraid of each other." That night, as he did every evening, read bedtime stories to any children who wanted to listen. Tonight there were 12 young ones curled up around him, 6. They glowed together in the dim light like living stars. "Tell us the story about how we became friends," asked sleepily. Smiled and began the tale that had become famous throughout both human and space. Once upon a time, the alien queen's daughters disappeared. Everyone was worried and scared. But when they found the princesses, they were sleeping peacefully, curled up on top of a human who had offered them nothing but kindness. And that simple act of caring changed everything. As the children drifted off to sleep, continued the story. It was a tale about fear turning into trust, suspicion becoming friendship, and how sometimes the smallest gestures could heal the deepest wounds. Years later, when Princess had children of her own, she would tell them the same story, about how their grandmother's reign was remembered not for conquests or wealth, but for the day she chose to trust in kindness instead of fear. And in human schools throughout the galaxy, children learned about the gardener who saved an entire species simply by being willing to share his warmth with those who needed it. The story always ended the same way, and they all lived peacefully ever after, proving that the best way to make friends is to simply be kind. But perhaps the most important part of the story was what it taught both species, that the strongest bonds are formed not through power or treaties, but through the simple act of caring for each other's children. In a universe full of different peoples and strange worlds, that lesson proved to be the most valuable discovery of all. But as they continued searching with no luck, began to wonder if that was a promise she could keep.